Welcome back. Of course, we had to start off this episode with a squeal because I get so excited. Like, I hope that you can feel the energy that I have right now because I am so excited to be talking to you. Okay, and so I put a poll on my Instagram and I asked you what you'd rather hear about. If you wanted me to talk about sex and spirituality, or if you wanted me to talk about my thoughts on the BS in the somatic therapy field. And the second one won, not by a lot. It was like 40-60. But here we are. I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the BS in the somatic therapy field. And I have a lot to say about this. And some of what I have to say all of it comes from my personal experience, but some of it comes from some strong feelings that I had as I went through my process of grad school, which I'm still in, and just uncovered more of my discernment with what is being taught in that higher education system to therapists in training, and some anger that I had about that as I went through the process. So let's get into it. I don't have a list like I sometimes do, so we might be all over the place today, but I'm just gonna go. Okay, also, before we get started, I do just need to say that I am so excited because I just recently started letting my cats outside for the first time, and I know this is kind of a controversial topic because cats are, I think, the number 3 or number 2 killer of local bird populations, and that sucks. My cats haven't killed any birds yet, and it's been 4 days, so I'll keep you updated. But there is like this collar thing that you can get for them so that they don't have the ability to fully attack the way that they would if they weren't wearing this protective collar. So anyways, I'll consider that. But I'll keep you updated on that because that has been so fun, and I posted about it on my Instagram story, and I'm having so much fun seeing what they do. I'm like spying on my babies as they go into the neighbor's yard. It's so fun. All right, so my thoughts on this therapy stuff. So I'll tell you about my personal journey. So I have had some of the worst therapists, like actually the worst. Like, harm was done to me in these therapy sessions, and I can laugh about it now, but in the moment, your girl was traumatized. It sucked. Okay, so I know that therapy training in grad school, it's all over the place, right? Like, my program at Naropa is a somatic counseling program at Naropa, and it's also all over the place. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the actual professors that you have. So somebody who went to that program 5 years ago had a completely different experience in the program than me in my cohort. But I will say that in many ways, my experience in grad school has been really, really phenomenal. And in many ways, I recognize the way that grad school is part of this larger system of creating people who are going to fit and work within the system. And for me, I've discovered that that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. I remember very distinctly the moment that I was in class and my 2 professors said, "And when you all are therapists out in the field," and I was just like, whoa, right, when we all are therapists. But up until that point, I had not been thinking of my future in that way and categorizing myself in that way as a future therapist. I came to this grad program following my intuition, first of all, and my passion. I had an awakening, you could call it, but I don't know that I would call it that. a transformative moment in my undergrad with somatic therapy in class, actually. I had two professors that were teaching some of the basics of somatics, and we would do experiential learning exercises. And I had these profound experiences with myself and connecting to my body where I was just like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to know about this. This is amazing. Everybody should dance more. Everybody should connect with their body. And I just really wanted to share that information that was so moving and powerful for me. So that was really my intention with coming to this program that I'm in now. It was just learning more and seeing where it takes me. And where it's taken me is not exactly the path that the program lays out for people. And my professors are wonderful. They acknowledge that not everybody's going to go on to be a licensed therapist, and there's so many ways that we can exist in this world and actually share this information and do this work without being a licensed therapist. But I will just say some of my beef with the profession of therapy and licensed therapists comes from my experience practicing in a way that I thought was right, in a way that I thought was the way for therapists to be. Like, there's kind of this perceived role that I had about the profession that when I tried to do that, it was horrible. Like, not only did I feel horrible, I felt like I was holding back. I felt rigid. It was just like the work that I was doing with my clients was not good. And the more that I've accepted that I am not going to be a licensed therapist, and right now the work that I'm doing with my clients is therapy because I'm in the structure of my internship site, but I allow myself to just be my full self outside of whatever I think the right way to do therapy is. And to be honest with you, the way that I think the right way, quote unquote, that people think of therapy is actually so far from what's actually beneficial and actually helpful. Let me explain. So, I hold this belief that humans are so much more capable than the mental health profession, and even I sometimes give humans credit for. I think you are so much stronger, so much smarter, so much more capable than you give yourself credit for. And I really don't like, I want to say hate, but that's such a strong word, but I really have a hard time with, because it makes me mad, the way that the therapy profession puts people in boxes and also holds them to this standard of quote unquote safety and a trauma-informed approach that I think actually does more harm than good sometimes. Okay, let me explain. When we talk about a trauma-informed approach, I have a lot of feelings about this. I need to slow down. When we talk about a trauma-informed approach, what we mean is that as we do therapy, we want to really empower choice in the client. All of it is your choice. And there are situations in the mental health field where somebody's coming to therapy not by choice. There's mandated therapy. There's court mandated. Sometimes if you're in a couple, there's ultimatums that have been made. And so somebody can feel like they're coming, or if you're a minor, somebody can feel like they're coming to therapy not by choice. That's a different situation where trauma-informed care looks different, because it's all about how can you empower choice when, first of all, with trauma, a big piece of that is that the choice and agency was taken away from you when something happened that was out of your control and you didn't want. And so a lot of having a trauma-informed approach now in therapy, or when you go to therapy, is bringing that choice back, reinvigorating that feeling within the client of being connected to their choice, their agency. And so that happens in all these little ways in therapy, like, how would you like to start today? What do you want to talk about? Like, even those micro choices that get made within the session. And so that's all great. I have no beef with that. I think that's a very important way to do therapy and do any kind of healing work with somebody. Give them a fucking choice. Yeah, consent. Yes. Like, you need to have consent. Okay? That's important. And the way that this approach is emphasized and taught in schools often results in therapists and healing professionals who are scared to go towards the deeper, heavier things because they don't want to re-traumatize their clients. And also, in therapy school, and I think this is just a function of what the higher education system actually is, you don't necessarily learn how to do the thing that you're being taught how to do. And what I mean by that is, as much practice as we do in role playing and skills lab as we do, I didn't learn. I feel like I learned so much more from being a client to a really good therapist than I did in school. Okay? And I will say also that I've learned a lot more from my coach, who's not a therapist, he's a coach, about how to actually help people, actually inspire change than I did in grad school. So that's where some of my beef comes from, because I feel like grad school really tries to equip people with the tools that they need, and in some ways I want to give it credit for what it has given me, and because it's part of the system of higher education that is churning people out to go into this system of mental health, it totally falls short, and it's just limited by just like capitalism nonsense. Okay. I hope that made sense, but I'll say more about it. So yeah, I feel like overall in the mental health field, there is a sense of, okay, the goal is to get people stable enough to get back to work, to live a functioning life in society. And a lot of how that shows up is by teaching coping skills and healthy coping skills. And I hate this. If anytime a client comes to me and they want to learn coping skills, I'm like, no. I don't want to teach anybody how to cope or how to deal with something when they can change instead of cope. I believe in the human's ability to change dramatically in one lifetime, in a moment. And I think a lot of therapy runs on the belief that healing is slow and it's non-linear, and yes, that's true. And it's so important to honor that and respect that. And if ever me honoring that slow process keeps somebody from tapping into their potential to change in a moment, I won't do it. Because I know that both are true. Yes, healing is non-linear and it's slow, and it's so vitally important that we respect you respect a person's nervous system and how it's functioning and never go farther than they can actually handle. And so it's so important as a healing professional, a therapist, a coach, to have an understanding of the nervous system and how it functions so that you can attune and read your client as you're doing this work so that you don't push too far. And of course, if you don't know, if you're unsure of where they're at, ask and get consent. Easy. Done. That's true. And so is that a human can change in a moment. A human's life can change in a moment. And because I know that both are true, I will never not push my clients because I know that they're capable of handling it and that that's why they come to me. And I know that there's safety in themselves, in me, like in our relationship, that nothing that happens in therapy is too much for me and for them to handle together. And that's because I trust myself. I have the skills to co-regulate and help somebody regulate their nervous system. And I'm attuned. I'm very closely attuned. And it would be a completely different story if I was pushing somebody and not attuned to them. And I was just pushing and not picking up on these subtle little signs and asking them for feedback of how things are going so that I can adjust if they are getting too dysregulated. But because I trust my own ability and my skills to attune, I know that I can push and that that's actually what's going to get somebody to break through. Okay, that's one thing. On top of that, I want to talk about, this is kind of like a rant for people who know, but I'll explain the things that I'm talking about in case you don't know. So, internal family systems therapy. Some of you might have heard of it if you're in therapy and you're like into psychology and all this sort of stuff, but Dick Shorts, sorry, I'm such a little girl. Okay, Richard Shorts, quote unquote, created this theory called internal family systems. Now, this theory and this work that he brought to the Western field of psychology has been around for freaking centuries and years, and this is just how healing work has happened. People know that this is how trauma works. When you go through experiences in your childhood as you're developing your psyche and your brain and all of the structures of your patterns, when things happen that cause a troublesome moment. I'm trying to find the words to describe this. Basically, when trauma happens, but when I say trauma, I mean it could be anything that hurt you as a kid. It could be a moment where you got bullied in school, like something as commonplace as that can have such a huge impact on your psyche, okay? And so never judge what you remember as being really impactful for you as a kid, because that's what was impactful for you. That's it. It doesn't matter how big or small or inconsequential it seemed at the time. It's just the impact that it has on the person. Hang on, I gotta get my cat. Yes, my dear? Do you want to come inside, babe? Hello? Yeah, so anything that happened to you in your childhood, no matter how big, no matter how small, whether it was the worst imaginable abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, or if it was just one little thing that somebody said to you that really stuck, or you fell down and scraped your knee and you were alone. Like, it could literally be anything, big, small, okay? Doesn't matter what the thing is, but that impact that it has on you, that's the trauma, okay? I just ran up the stairs. I need to catch my breath. Okay. So what happens when you have those moments throughout your childhood is your psyche can sometimes fracture off into different parts that will position themselves to deal with what happened. Sorry guys, I had to pause for a minute because I started getting worried about my cat. I thought I heard a meow, but I didn't. I'm still worried about my cat. Like, I don't know where he went, and he's just out. This is a really good practice for me in trusting and surrendering. And here we are. I'm trusting and surrendering. Okay. Now back to what I was talking about. Oh yeah, trauma. How fun. I love it. Okay. So I'm setting you up for what I'm about to say, which is my opinion on therapists who use internal family systems religiously, and any therapist that just babies their clients. I'm not down for that. And I think as a client, like when I had a therapist who was babying me, I could tell, and I didn't want that. It's like, I'm coming to you because I am having a hard time doing this on my own, and I want you to push me. And maybe that's just me because I'm a high achiever and I'm very like driven and I have a hard time. I mean, I don't want to feel stuck. I don't think anybody wants to feel stuck. And yes, there's what I was saying earlier of how it's important to respect the pacing of the healing and go at the pace that it needs to. And a lot of times that means it happens slower than you want it to. And as a therapist or a coach or a healing professional, and this is mostly for therapists because I don't think that coaches really have this problem. I don't know though. I'm not as familiar with the field of coaching. But as a therapist, it is your responsibility to hold down the safety for the client and push harder than your client would push themselves. That's why they're coming to you. And because you have the skills and the tools and the safety in yourself to take your client where they're scared to go on their own, it's your job to do just that. So I think what happens is a lot of therapists haven't gone there with themselves yet. And I am still figuring out what I think of this quote that you can only take somebody as far as you've gone yourself, because I don't know that. So I'll just say, here's what it means to me. It doesn't mean that I can only lead somebody through exactly the healing progression that I've gone through, if they've gone through the same exact kind of experiences as me. That's not what that means. It just means that the depths, it's speaking to. Okay, part of me is so annoyed that I keep cutting this up, but I did run downstairs to get my cat and I fed him. So I'm a mom. I'm a cat mom. Okay, that comes first. And I love you guys, and I will get back on track with what I was saying. Okay, so yeah, a lot of times what can happen is therapy is this standstill between the client's resistance and the therapist's unwillingness or just not knowing how to get that client to the breakthrough point that they need. Okay? And I'll speak to an experience that I had with my coach where he used a very creative and unconventional approach to getting me to a breakthrough moment that would not fly in therapy. And I understand why there is an extensive code of ethics for therapists and how important it is for therapists to follow that, especially when they're working with vulnerable populations, vulnerable people. I mean, like, anybody coming to therapy is a vulnerable person. Like, hello, that's a really vulnerable thing to do. And as a therapist or as a coach, as a helping professional, it is up to you to push, first of all, again, not farther than your client can actually handle, but just enough that's actually going to get them the change that they are wanting and coming to you to help them with. And it's up to you to recognize and meet your client exactly where they're at. If they're not ready for that push, don't do it. If they are, and you're both just feeling stuck because you're rubbing up against their own pattern of resistance, it's up to you as the therapist, as the helping professional, as the coach, to get creative and help them get past that. And I had my last therapist before the one that I'm seeing now, who I love. She's phenomenal. She's like a witch, dominatrix. Like, she knows how to help me get there. And by there, I mean, like, really go into my stuff, into myself, rather than just talking, staying in my head about it. We could talk all day. I love her. We have great conversations, but that's not what I'm there for. I'm there to be guided through a process of re-experiencing my trauma and healing it this time, So I love her, but my therapist before her was very much an internal family systems parts work therapist. That's like mostly all we did. She also was a sensory motor therapist, but we didn't do much of that. It was also virtual, which I think it's really hard for me and for a lot of people to do virtual therapy. Although I will say I do virtual therapy with my clients, and we go in there, we get shit done, because I don't hold back. Okay? So it's totally possible. It's totally doable. But I think that maybe for us there was that barrier of us being virtual, but I don't even want to give her that excuse. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, but it just wasn't a good fit. So because I have this very strong pattern of freezing, of shutting down when we go close to the pain point. And this is so common for people who have any kind of childhood trauma, anything, to have a pattern of disassociation, of shutting down, of numbing, of rescuing themselves when it feels like too much to talk about, too much to do. So the way that internal family systems taught my previous therapist to respond and treat this resistance in me was by just getting to know it, understanding it, really giving it the time and space to respect it. And coming out of that experience, I'm like, fuck that. Don't give my resistance the time of day. I need you to help me say, hey, resistance, move the fuck aside. We have shit to do, in a loving way. But like, I don't want to be in a therapy relationship where somebody is just giving my fear-based beliefs and my resistance more time than it actually needs. I don't like that. It's like I'm speaking to you, my listener, you get to have boundaries with yourself. And if you don't want that voice of that resistance, of the fear of, oh my gosh, if I talk about this thing, or if I bring up this memory, then I'm scared I'm going to get stuck there. I'm just scared of what this person's going to think of me, of all this stuff. You get to have boundaries with yourself about that, especially when you're in the process of breaking through, of healing. It's going to be uncomfortable. But and your therapist should know that and expect it to be uncomfortable before it gets really good, before you get to that breakthrough moment. But I think so many therapists are themselves uncomfortable with their clients' discomfort. And I'm so annoyed about that. I'm so annoyed. And I think in therapy school, there's a little bit of this erring on the side of caution, of not re-traumatizing people, of respecting boundaries. And I'm like, yes, respect boundaries, get consent. That is so important. And do your fucking job. You're here to push. You're here to provide the thing that this person can't do for themselves. And it's like you need to be okay with the discomfort, with the suck, and accept that it's gonna suck for a little bit. And hold the vision that where you're going with your client is beyond where they can even see themselves. I don't know if any of that was any bit coherent, because I get fired up about this. I really have a problem with some therapists who haven't done their own work, who make it about the training and the tools and the practices and the interventions instead of trusting their own fucking intuition. Oh my gosh. And I've seen some of my friends in my program go through this journey too, of like feeling like, okay, I'm learning these skills, and because I'm learning this specific skill set, it feels like there's a right way that I need to do things. When actually what happens is clients don't care about the interventions. Nobody cares about what certifications you have. Nobody fucking cares. They just want to feel that you are rooted. They just want to feel that their therapist is rooted and connected to their inner knowing and the direction of the therapy. And they really honestly, it's kind of like they want to be dominated. Like they want to be told what to do and where to go and that everything's going to be okay. And it's like, it really is that. It really is that. And I feel that too when I'm the client. I'm like, yeah, tell me what to do. I don't fucking know. That's why I'm here. Hello. And it's the job of a really skilled therapist to elicit the client's inner knowing while also knowing when to bring forth their own expertise about something. Yeah, I just get this feeling like when I think about it, I'm just like, there's so much bullshit. There's so much bullshit. And there just is. Like, that's what it is whenever there's a system. There's a level of care that needs to be standardized. There's like research and evidence-based interventions and things that need to be standardized. And that really just takes away the magic of what's actually happening when you're working with a person and doing this work. And so my advice, and oh my gosh, my advice. I feel like everybody needs to hear this. So listen. You do not need to do something a certain way for it to be good, for it to work, for it to be an incredible offering to whoever you're offering it to. I've spoken to a few people who are starting out their internships, and when I share with them my arc of going from feeling like I needed to do it a right way, where I was holding back a lot of my authenticity and also my power, holding back what I can actually do with clients because I was scared, because I was hearing the voices of my teachers of not wanting to re-traumatize people, of going through all these precautions so that I don't cause harm. When I let that shit go and just trusted myself, because here's the thing. If you're in this profession, and especially if you are a kind, caring person, I would say most people do not want to cause harm. And yes, anybody, anywhere, at any time could get offended by anything you say. Any fucking thing you say. Anything you say could trigger anybody at any time. And it's not your responsibility to censor yourself so that you don't hurt somebody's feelings. And as therapists, I think we're just like, we put these like constraints on, I like how I said as therapists, and I'm not even a therapist yet. Well, technically, I'm a therapist right now in one of my roles at my internship. Okay, I'm a therapist, but in the future, I will see. But like, you put this straitjacket on yourself to these constraints of what you can't say out of fear of hurting somebody. And I'm just like, actually what that's doing is just keeping people from experiencing the fullness of what you have to offer when you are in your power, when you take off those constraints, those limiting beliefs, and choose to stop believing those voices, even if they're coming from your teachers, and especially if they are. You don't need to listen. Like, it took me a while into grad school to develop my discernment, to choose to not listen to things that don't resonate with me, and just trust myself that if that feels like I don't want to take it in, I don't need to. And this is not specific to the therapy field. Anytime anyone places value on somebody else's words above their own belief, when you give somebody else's opinion and perspective more authority than your own, you're fucked. Just kidding. You're not fucked. It's just not good. It's not what you need. It's not what the world needs. The world needs you to value your perspective more than anybody else's. And not from an egocentric way or an arrogant way or an I know what's best and nobody can tell me otherwise narcissistic way. No, not in a dysfunctional way. In a way that is grounded and rooted in trusting yourself first. And knowing yourself more than anybody else knows you, better than anybody else knows you. Trusting that you have the perspective that other people need to hear, even if it's different than what you think people want to hear from you. And I'll just tell you, the moment I started trusting myself more, and it's been a process of more and more and more every day, trusting myself more, being more myself, revealing more of myself, and stepping into my role as somebody who has authority because I choose to, who has power because I know and I recognize that I have power, not because I am, okay. It's like the more I own that I am powerful, the more I empower other people to own their power. And I think in this field of mental health counseling and in, I would say, society as a whole, I notice people are scared of power. They're scared of their own power because there's this idea that people who have power are corrupt, are abusing their power, are doing bad things with their power. And there's this association of power with bad things, with evil, with oppressing people with your power. And so people like me who I don't even know what to say about me. People like me who have this incredible power and have a gift and something to offer the world, but have been told your whole life that that's bad, that if you own your power and accept your power and actually choose to embrace being powerful, you're going to cause harm to other people. It's just such a constraining narrative to be living from. And I lived from that for a long time. And throughout grad school, like dimming my light and my power because I was scared that somebody was going to misinterpret it, that I was going to offend somebody, that it was not going to land how I meant it. But actually what I've noticed happens, the more that I embrace my power, the more that I stand in full ownership of my power, and I'm not even fully there yet. I don't know that I ever will be. The more I do that, the more I empower others to do the same, to step into their own power. And so it's totally different than what I was told would happen, which is that if I embrace my power, I would harm people and oppress people and be careless about things and be corrupt and get greedy. It's like, no, that's not what happens, because that's not a part of me already. I am not, in my core, greedy or mean or want to hurt people. No. And if I do hurt people or offend people, great. Like, I can recognize what happens there. And if it's a situation with one of my beautiful close friends and family, we work it out. And if it's somebody who is not in my close friends and family, but I want to engage in conversation with them, great, I can do that. If not, it actually has nothing to do with me if somebody gets hurt by something that I'm doing. And this is not, again, in a careless or selfish or arrogant way. It's just, for me and for a lot of recovering people pleasers, you need to know that it doesn't have anything to do with you if somebody gets hurt by something that you do. You have a responsibility to yourself and to being true and honoring yourself, true to yourself and honoring yourself. And if that hurts somebody or offends them, okay. Like, okay. What then? Right? It's not it does not mean anything about you if somebody gets hurt by something that you do. It doesn't mean that you're bad. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean that you're bad at your job or that you don't know what you're doing. It just means that somebody got hurt. And to bring it back to therapists, I think so many therapists are scared of hurting people that they actually hold themselves back from doing such powerful work. And I don't like that. I'm like, I hate that therapists and people in general have this fear and hold themselves back because they're scared to hurt people. It's okay. Not everybody's gonna like what you do either. Not everybody's gonna agree with it. People are gonna think you're fucking crazy. That's fine. That's fine. Especially if you have trusted mentors and friends and people who you can actually reality check against and ask, am I being crazy right now? No. It's just that everybody's living in their own different world, and some people are going to think you're fucking crazy, and some people are going to think you're the best thing that's ever happened. And either way, you need to keep doing what you're doing, because the right people, if you're a therapist, the right clients are going to really value your work and get so much out of it. And the wrong clients are going to just leave and trickle off. I went through this when I was in my internship, and this is just the energetics of the work. Like, this is how, when I'm energetically aligned with what's true and authentic for me, I attract clients that are ready to go with me. Clients that I can do really powerful work with because we're aligned. And when I was just starting out, I was just kind of getting clients that were being handed to me, and they've trickled off since then, because as I've changed and grown and stepped more into what I'm really here to bring to people when we work one-on-one together, we just naturally ended. And so there's a lot of trust that I have in the universe, that I have in my path and my journey, that the system of careers and the system of mental health counseling just doesn't really instill in people. And there's so much, there's just so many rules and so many ways to do it wrong and ways to do it right. And I just don't feel the need or the desire to go into that work. I don't want to, like I said earlier, teach people how to cope. I want to teach people how to change. And a lot of therapists do that, yes. But I feel like still in the mental health field, there's this predominant goal of teaching people how to cope. And I'm not down for that. That's my little rant. I wish I did this on a live so that I could take people's questions. That would be good. I'm going to do that next time. Okay. Maybe I'll go live and ask people's questions. All right, hang on. Okay, if you made it this far, I want to hear if you have any questions or if you have any comments about my perspective. I would love to hear. I'm also happy to share my horrible experiences that I've had with my therapist in the past. Yeah, and unfortunately, those are so common. And if you've also had a horrible experience with a therapist, I'm so sorry. I want you to know that there are good therapists, And I know that it's kind of hard to find them. Like, genuinely, it is. I'm lucky enough to have the most incredible, exceptional coach and therapist supporting me in my life, as well as my friends who are just like the best support team that I could ask for. So if you're one of those people, I love you so much. Thank you for being in my life. Seriously. And to you, my listener, my friend, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that you were here. I hope that you got something out of today's episode. I hope that you enjoyed my cursing and my rant, and I hope you follow me on Instagram or TikTok or find me on my website. It's all the same thing. It's my name, Talia Matz, TaLyaMatz. And click the link in the description to sign up for my newsletter. That's like one of the best ways that you can stay connected with me. And I love so much writing to you, and just know that when you sign up for my newsletter, first of all, you get the free PDF file of how the guide to getting connected into your heart. So you'll get that, and you also just get to be part of, this is kind of woo-woo, but this is how I think of it. Like, when I sit down to write my emails, I'm thinking of you. And whether I know you or not personally, like, you have now entered the space of my consciousness, and I will literally be writing to you, whether you know it or not, whether I know it or not, and I end up saying things that you need to hear. And it ends up being exactly right. So if you want some of that goodness, sign up for my newsletter. I don't email you all the time. It's like once a week. And you'll also get to hear the fastest updates on when my book is coming out, and you'll get to be the first to know and first to get it on pre-sale. Okay, that's all for now. Sending you so much love. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.